Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope all of you guys are doing well. So, today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to probably have some type of a controversy here because I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion on modern day horror, on why I don't like it, and why I find some of it to be garbage. That is right. I'm not a big fan of modern day horror, I don't really care for it. On a rare occasion there will be a film that comes out during today's generation where once in a while I will find a horror film that I do like, but a lot of times I just find it to be complete garbage. Now, I am a product of the 80s and 90s, and if there's one thing I have truly appreciated is the creativity when it comes to the horror genre, especially during the being, a product of the 80s and 90s. And even some of the early 2000s, there was a lot of, in my personal opinion, creativity when it came to that genre. If you look at the 80s in general, films like Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, you got Leprechaun in the 90s, you've got, those B movies that have grown a cult following, like Return of the Living Dead, or, Night of the Creeps, Night of the Comet, Night of the Demons, so on and so forth. Even though some films that have been products of that time may have a lot of similarities to others, they still found a way to try to make their films different in its own way. And to some extent, it worked. And not only did it work, but more sequels were made, and over the years and decades, a lot of these grew cult followings, like House, or Night of the Demons, or of course, our big popular horror icons like Jason, Freddy, and Michael, and so on and so forth. But when you get to the modern day horror, it seems like we're constantly using the same type of subgenre. How many shark movies do we need every year? How many ghost movies do we need every year? How many zombie movies do we need every year? How many, it just possession movies we need every year? It seems like we're taking either specific subgenres and constantly making a horror film every year. And I feel like it's getting outplayed and outdated very quick. Now, don't mind you, zombies have been around for years, and The Walking Dead kind of in some way brought that popularity back. But when you bring something back into a mainstream and it starts to become popular again, it starts to create a overbearing feeling of things being too overrated and too overwhelming and clustered. Um, so, when you look at zombies and sharks and possessions and ghosts and haunted houses and things like that, it's just these movies are continuing to be released. Mind you, some people do like some of them, others not so much. But I feel like we're getting to a point where we no longer have that creativity. We're just more of creating a product that, not necessarily people want, but they're going to watch it anyway. And I feel like we need to start having more of a creativity when it comes to the horror genre. Yes, you can continue making your sequels, your prequels, your continuations to big franchises. I have no issue with that. But, like, let's get more creative with some of the horror. I mean, one thing about the 80s and 90s and things like that, there was a lot of films that had some great creativity. And I feel like over the years, we have lost that. I truly believe in certain horror franchises, there are specific characters who I feel like could, use a standalone film or be turned into a series to kind of focus more on the mythology or the lore of the story from the franchise. And a great example I can use on that would be Phantasm. I've always liked the lore of Phantasm and the Tall Man. We kind of got somewhat of a backstory on the Tall Man in the fourth Phantasm movie, Phantasm 4 Oblivion. But I feel like if we used that story and created maybe a one limited time mini series of some sort following the Tall Man's early days, you can get an actor that can be similar, look similar to Angus Grimm. Maybe add some makeup, a bald cap, kind of make him look young, but not necessarily need to, do CGI or anything like that. Because, of course, it would be a prequel. It would take that story and put more of a depth to it. Because I've always been fascinated by that story of how a man who is creating something that would lead to like time travel causes him to be this entity, this creature of some sort, and created this universe of films. So I feel like that would work. I've always had the idea for a Dr. Loomis movie or a TV series that focuses on events before the first Halloween movie. And the end of this series or the end of this movie would be the night, would be the day of Michael, killing his sister. It would follow Dr. Loomis. I think it would be more of a TV series than anything where you see Dr. Loomis, becoming this doctor of some sort, and the things that he's gone through. And, he would have a case that was similar in some aspect of the case, in the Halloween franchise. And this would play a big part on why he decided to accept the case for Michael. And, it would kind of tie in to the Halloween films. And I feel like that would work. Specific, like I said, specific characters, specific events and things in movies, I feel like would work in a TV series because it would expand that mythology or expand that character in some way and tie a lot of things into the franchises if done right. But when you look at the modern day horror, like all these shark movies, and it's getting so bad, we're getting sequels we never asked for. Nobody wanted a Deep Blue Sea 2. Nobody wanted the Deep Blue Sea 3. And that's another thing. We need to stop capitalizing on, movies that have a cult following. Great example, Tales from the Hood. Tales from the Hood is one of my favorite 90s horror anthologies. I grew up watching that movie so many times. So why did we need a second or third film? We don't need it. And it feels like today, not just, modern day horror, but in today's standards, when it comes to, horror in general, it's like we're running out of ideas. We can't get creative anymore. I mean, yeah, you may be limited, but there's ways to do it and do it in a different way. If you look at Night of the Demons, great demon possession films. I love the practical effects in that film, but it's unique. And yeah, they made sequels kind of following the same formula, but they did it in a way where I feel like it works. Sleepaway Camp is a prime example. You can create a universe with a surrounding area. Yes, it might be a spoof on the Friday the 13th franchise, but guess what? It worked. It grew a cult following. Yeah, some prefer the second instead of the third. Some prefer the third, then the second. But at the end of the day, it's a whole complete franchise of films that people love. And I feel like that's where we're why I feel like the horror today is getting stale is because we're running out of original ideas. We're running out of ways to make something that everybody has done, but make it its own unique way. A lot of independent horror directors I've noticed whose films may not be at the same mainstream where you can just go into Walmart and pick up the DVD from Shudder or anything. Sometimes their films do really, really well. But I don't know. I just feel like in today's generation, it's just the horror is not good. Especially when you have all these subgenres that we're constantly getting every year. Like, look back from now to, I would say, the past 10 years, 2014, and look how many shark movies we've had. Look how many zombie movies we had. Possession, Haunted House. Like, how many more can we get? Like, why can't we have a story that could take that subgenre and make it into something a little bit better? Snakes, alligators. I mean, like, come on. Like, where's our horror film about a hungry hippo? Now, I'm not saying you got to turn the board game Hungry Hungry Hippo into a horror film. Mind you, I would like to see that happen because I'm a fan of that board game. But nonetheless, why can't we make a horror film on a different animal? Like, I feel like another subgenre, different animals. It's kind of outplayed. Give us something that we never seen, like electric eels. Yes, we do see horror films about spiders. Well, what about scorpions? What about a praying mantis? Like if you look back at like the old, 1950 horror films that were in black and white, giant spiders, ants, scorpions. I don't know if there was a scorpion one, but my whole point is, why can't we go back to some of those to some extent? Because like spiders, you constantly see spider movies. I mean, we got what, a couple coming out this year. So I know I'm gonna probably get a lot of hate for this, I'm giving my opinion, but I just don't like modern day horror. It's just there's something that doesn't click, and I just feel like the creativity is just not there. Now, mind you, I know the people who wrote the script, directed, put all the work in. I feel like, yes, I do give them credit, but I feel like when you execute it, it doesn't work. Maybe on paper it looks great. Maybe you could change things up, but I just feel like they're not putting more of an effort or trying to really figure out what they can capitalize on that's different. And a great example of something that was done right, but I have not yet seen the film because of the gore. I'm not too like huge on that. Is Terrifier. I feel like the Terrifier could be up there with a lot of the bigger franchises, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween. And I know a lot of you are going to be like, well, that's crazy. No way. The Terrifier, Art the Clown, I believe is his name. I feel like he could be the first step of creating new horror icons and allowing the ones we love so much to finally rest. I don't want to sit here and realize we got 10, over 10 Halloween movies. I mean, right now we're probably over 10 with, everything we've had, but how many horror, films are we going to have with these icons? Are we going to have 20 Friday the 13th movies? 20 Nightmare on Elm Street, or 50 Nightmare on Elm Street movies? Like, I feel like at some point we need to let them rest. Let's if we're gonna really close them out on a high note, let's create a TV series so we can expand the universe. To me, that's what needs to happen. Because I feel like a lot of the lore would work, like I've stated. But like Art the Clown, I feel like, for the Terrifier films, and if it's not his name's not Art the Clown, I apologize. But I feel like the Terrifier would be the perfect stepping stone to create new horror icons. Megan, to some extent, Annabelle to some extent, but like the Terrifier films is a great example. A great example. The Hatchet films, Mr. Crowley is another prime example. You can create new horror icons and expand the horror universe, but do it right. Have these films be, in a continuity. I don't know why it's so hard to do that. I really don't. Hellraiser. Why can't we use some of the other Cenobites? Yeah, Pinhead is one of the most iconic characters, then he's one of my favorites. But I want to know more on the other Cenobites that we've had in these films, like Chatter and, I'm not sure what the other characters are named. But why can't we have that? Why can't we have those Cenobites take over Pinhead's role and expand the universe in itself? Maybe give us a prequel, backstory on these characters, and then lead up into like their own specific movie. They got to be doing something. I don't know. I'm just kind of talking out my ass at this moment. But then when you look at films like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, or The Mean One, which is the like Grinch spoof horror, I feel like those can work to some extent. I have not seen these films, but from what I heard, even though the reviews are not the greatest, there's some originality there because, I mean, yes, they're following the subgenre of slashers and, this and that, but they're doing it in some unique way by taking such a beloved character and putting its own twist on what they feel is necessary. It's not necessarily a subgenre. It's slowly turning into a subgenre, but I feel like there's some, when you look at what they, like looking at the trailers, you could tell there is some creativity in that. Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. How many horror Thanksgiving movies we have? Not many. And again, when you look at this film, you see some originality. Yes, you're taking some of the subgenre that we're all used to, but you're putting things in that work. in some way. And that's just my opinion. My opinion doesn't really matter. Everybody's got their own opinion. But to me, I just feel like some of modern horror is garbage. Not saying everything is. I'm just saying some of it is complete garbage. And I'm also stating that a lot of the subgenre needs to take a break. We need to get rid of the subgenres, sharks, monkeys, alligators. Like, I get if people like them, but we need something different. I want to see a different animal. Give me a killer ostrich. I'd rather see an ostrich horror film than a typical alligator horror film, or a spider, or a shark. Give us another squid horror film. The Beast, which was what, an early 2000s, late 90s TV made movie. I want another giant squid horror film. Give us that. Like, give us something different we either haven't seen in quite some time, or something, different, like a killer ostrich. Ostrich is one of those animals you wouldn't even expect to see. I mean, they even did a horror film on sheeps. Now, come on. An ostrich, I feel like, not necessarily work, but it would be different. It would be something creative because somebody, you know, it's something you don't see every day. So somebody, my throat's getting dry. So it'd be something you wouldn't see every day, and I feel like it would work. So, yeah, I don't want to make this video too long. Like I said, it's just my opinion on the topic. Everybody has their own opinion. You like something, you hate something else. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. What do you feel? How do you feel about some of modern day horror? How do you feel about some of the subgenres? Do we need to continue making these films? Yes, I get they make money, but do we really need one every year? Should we take a break and have something new? Like, look, if I had the idea to make a subgenre type of horror film that deals with an animal, I'm going with an ostrich and a hippo. Why? Because it's weird, it's different, and I think it would be pretty entertaining. It would be like the So Bad It's Good. Um, and it's something different. But yeah, just give me your opinion. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. It's much appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content. It's much appreciated. It keeps me going. And yeah, I've got a goal I'm trying to hit by the end of the year. Hopefully I will. But with that being said, I'm Film Talk with Mikey. And until next time, we'll talk films. Peace. And I'll see you guys next time.